Alan Wake 2 is my other review for the month. So, played completed Keeper, played completed 1111 Memories Retold, and I'd started Alan Wake 2 last month, but managed to finish it off this month. Was really looking forward to this one, and it didn't hugely disappoint. There are some buts. So 13 years after the events of the first game, trouble has returned to Bright Falls in the form of a cult. It's up to Agent Saga Anderson to investigate. Meanwhile, Alan is continuing his own story, and their stories and realities start to kind of interweave. It's kind of a survival horror action adventure investigate 'em up. I'm not sure that's an official genre, but it does hit all those notes and worth covering. And it's on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. I think it was one of the free games on PlayStation Plus a couple of months ago when you picked it up, James.
Yeah.
I had bought it in a shocking twist of events because I don't usually buy games on Xbox, mainly because there was an amazing deal on the deluxe edition, which meant that I got all the DLC and Alan Wake 1 remastered, which I hadn't technically played because I played the original before it got remastered. So I wanted that in the collection. So I was happy to spend the money, support the developers, love Remedy and what they do. I talked a bit last month about it. Try not to duplicate what I said last month, but let's go back to go forward. So, mentioned I loved the first game, and that was a sort of focused action adventure with some spooky bits, I thought. James, you played it, you enjoyed it, didn't you?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, weird, wasn't it? Quite psychological. A lot of it was going on in his head. You had the whole dead wife thing, wasn't it? And he was a writer trying to get away to rediscover his writing ability. And lots of drama ensued, including a whole new novel appeared from various places. Fascinating game.
Yeah, indeed. Dead or Missing Wife. I also played and loved Control. I haven't played any of the Max Payne games, but, Remedy, there's another one, wasn't there? Quantum Break, I think, on Xbox. So, love what they do. Really enjoyed those. As I said, was really looking forward to this. The highs in the game are probably higher than either of those two, so real excellent stuff. But there are some buts, and I'll come to those. Very strong start. So you sort of stumbling around a familiar forest, very disturbing images, kind of trying to break through the screen. You really get that sense of madness kind of taking over. And we meet the cult of the tree, which is a sort of big story throughout the game. Doesn't hold back. Pretty strong horror as well. So I mentioned Alan Wake 1, I thought was kind of a spooky action adventure. This is very much more into the sort of survival horror element. So always did have, you were a bit sort of outgunned, outnumbered. You had to use the light to fight back all these kind of monsters and baddies. Still that, but it's just sort of dialed up. It's much more horrific. It's also quite graphically. Some of the stuff is pretty full on. We then meet FBI agent Saga Anderson, who has the sort of mind place, very much Sherlock Holmes mind palace type situation. So she can kind of go off into this cabin in her mind. The cabin is her mind, something like that. And she can kind of investigate and connect with people she's investigating. So she can profile them, which is kind of getting inside their head and talking to them. She has one of those crazy, wonderful investigation boards with bits of string connecting the evidence and stuff, and you build that up. So it's got this kind of CSI or LA Noire, if you played that game, elements to it, which is completely different from the first game and really added something to me. So that is one of the strengths, I think. We've got these two stories, these two settings and two gameplay mechanics, and the sort of realities tangling and untangling at the same time. So that gives it this sense of variety, unpredictable, really adds something. It is gorgeous in a kind of gross way, very cinematic. Film nerds like me will recognise lots of nods to Stephen King as before, but lots of other sort of spooky stuff. Stunningly sort of produced, some of the shots that it sort of forces in terms of the camera angles. Some of the settings are just brilliant, honestly brilliant. There's a crappy abandoned fairground, which is like classic spookiness. Really kept me on edge with the sort of weird noises going on around me. There's some great set pieces. There's one sequence, which anyone who's played the game will know. I will not spoil. Music is involved again, as it has been in the first Alan Wake, as it was again in Control. It is bonkers. It is brilliant. I love the madness and the reality bending. I enjoyed the gross horror stuff in a sort of way, although it was a bit much. It was definitely dialed up. And Saga, as the kind of more grounded character of the two, her world gets increasingly messed up, and it's quite kind of interesting and sort of fun in a perverse way to sort of see that all happen. Alan's world is a reflection of his slightly crazy mind, mad scribbles everywhere. You can't trust what is real, and that's kind of fun. As I said, the Saga investigation stuff brings a new dimension, but that is also one of the problems to me of the game. It does kill the pacing. So I mentioned Saga sort of retreats into this mind place where she kind of joins the dots on the investigation, and that could be after or even sort of between two quite big action-y type set pieces, which really kills the momentum of things. It doesn't ruin the game by any means, but it does break things up. It also means there's a very much correct order to do things. So if you haven't investigated something or profiled someone in your mind place, you can't necessarily progress in the actual kind of game world. That's kind of annoying. Alan's levels are very different. They're different to number one, actually. They're much more like the DLCs. If you've got to play those, he can rewrite his reality. And that's much more of a major part of the game than in the first one. So you can really change the structure of a level. You can change the what's around you, and part of the puzzling is to do with that. So that's very cool, disturbing in a good way, but having those two completely different stories, completely different styles, again, kind of affects the pacing. You can kind of decide to some extent what order you play the different characters in as well. And I don't know if I chose quote sort of the right order, or if it maybe would have flowed better in a different way. But while I enjoyed each bit, it just didn't necessarily fully connect. So the other downside was I thought the final sort of section, I won't say the ending because it's not the ending necessarily, but the final section was not quite up to what had been a really good kind of run up to that. So again, I like a satisfying resolution, whether it's sort of conclusive or it's a kind of Inception style. Oh, I wonder if it was this or if it was this. Whereas Alan Wake 2 for me ended on a bit of a kind of like, don't know if they're hedging for a third one or what. But that was also a disappointment. So played it, completed it, 30 hours. I really enjoyed it. I definitely don't want to undersell how much I liked the game. It looked amazing. It was bonkers. I really enjoyed the investigation. It was just these were all sort of disparate parts of the game that didn't always fully come together. So the pacing, that last section, and very much borderline between kind of interesting, thought-provoking, and sometimes a little bit pretentious. The ambiguity in the game could be, you need to be in the right mood. So I'm really glad you're using half points in your scores, James, because I was like, is it an 8? Is it a 9? Like at one point I thought it might be really up there in my Game of the Year contention. It's still up there, but it's not my favourite game of this year, and I thought it could be at one point. And it's just how much of those cons, how much did they impact me? I'm going to go 8.5. It was a great game, which I take as an 8. It was a bit beyond that, but it wasn't quite fantastic. It wasn't quite in the conversation for me for best game I've played this year. But it was a heck of a ride. And I do have some of the DLC to still play, and I will definitely get to that. So that's Alan Wake 2.